Hello YouTube, hope you're all doing well today. So I just got off of work. It was a long day at work. Many challenges, but challenges are there to overcome. And I did. And so I come in the house, walk through the door, see all my bench parts, and I can't help myself. I gotta get to work on the bench. I have 100 other things I need to get done around the house, but screw it. I gotta get the bench done, and that's what I want to do, so that's what I'm gonna do. So tonight, I'm just going, the goal here is to cut the upper tenon on my left, the left side, the frame for the left side of the bench. This is the upper tenon. I showed yesterday how I lay out, and once I have my distances like I was talking about yesterday, I then square it up, use a square and transfer my lines all the way across the board on all four sides. I should have only done two sides. I instinctively did all four because usually I trim both. I don't know what the proper name is, but I cut cheeks and whatever else whatever you call the small part. I cut all four sides, and that way all of them sit flush against the joint, the mating piece anyway. But these only require you cutting cheeks down the sides. So, I forgot that part. I instinctively marked all four sides. Not a big deal. You're never going to see this. It's behind the aprons. And I won't make that same mistake on the other three tenons. The other three runners with tenons. So, once I have those all marked around, I take my marking gauge. And I use this marking gauge. It's a Veritas twin post marking gauge, and it has the little wheel markers on it. They're great, but I mean they're phenomenal. They're awesome once they're set up. They're a pain in the ass to set up. I'll tell you that. If you've never had one, never worked with one of these, they're a pain in the ass to set up. A lot more difficult than, say, one of these old traditional style ones. This is my other marking gauge, or one of my other ones, and it's much easier, but it's not as accurate. I don't trust that. I trust this. Once I get it set up, it's just a pain in the butt. Also, I will tell you, tighten your wheels down. And I've gotten to the practice of when I mark, I go to where the pressure on these wheels will essentially tighten the wheels as you pull or push them along the board, making your mark. If you don't, over time, if you were to go against it, like you were unscrewing it, right, and the pressure was... So when I'm holding in my right hand, I have to pull to me. When I'm in my left hand, I have to push, right? So if I did it the other way, then it will over time loosen up these wheels. They'll back off, and you probably won't even realize it's happening, and it'll just screw up all your markings. And hopefully you don't actually cut or chop or whatever to those lines before you realize you botched up the marking. So that's another little tip for you. But this, I got it set up, and I use this, set it to 3/4 distance, 3/4 of an inch for my chisel that I cut the mortise to, and I went around off of only the face edge. I marked all three sides of that tenon, and then off of the face, mark all of these. That way all the marks are taken off, or all the marks are using one registration face. I already did it on this side, but I then just take a chisel, doesn't matter what chisel, and I deepen that knife wall on the tenon side. This is my waste side where I'm going to cut this part of the material out. And I just go in. I'm a little different, same principle as the way Paul Sellers does it. I just do it a little bit differently. I'm a low angle, and I just, because my chisels are dead sharp, so I just push it in. I don't need to hammer it, and I don't like how the whole thing, he leaves a bunch of breakout. He says it doesn't bother. It doesn't matter if you get it all the way or not, but it bugs me. So I don't do it that way. I just literally go, I don't know, a quarter inch, not even that, away at a pretty low angle, as you see. You'll see Wrangler Star and Paul. Paul's more closer down to here. Wrangler Star, Cody from Wrangler Star is like up here. We don't need that much of a thing, of a shelf to sit in. Just need to, make it more identifiable, something that your saw can sit in and guide your saw. So I just come back and I simply wiggle it and push it into push it up to the knife wall, or the knife wall, knife edge, whatever he calls it. And it usually just stops right there, and it's even more prominent in hardwood. So I just push it till it stops. Nothing big. Nothing sexy going on here or anything like that. Sometimes you do need a chisel in your hardwood. It's easier in hardwoods. And then I'll either come back with the chisel or just get the marking knife back out and run along that edge and clean up the fibers. And I'll do that to both sides, but I'll do that to every one that I do. Don't do the edges. Don't go in and deepen the edges, because those are going to be something that you see in the joint. Barely, but you'll see it, unless, if there's any kind of modification like a chamfer or something that you put on the inside of the hole. You will see that mark. So even though I marked it, I'm not going to chisel it. Just this and this. The only two sides that get that bevel. And I already have my lines. I marked them out. I know you can't see them because my computer camera is all I've got right now, and it sucks. There's no way it's going to pick up on there, and I'm sorry. So I'm going to get my crosscut saw out. This is also it's one of those, you never know what you're going to get when you buy used, and I have dozens of saws, but when it comes to, I wanted a dedicated crosscut and rip cut tenon saw. So that's why it was like buy once, cry once. And so I got the rip cut and the cross cut from Lee Nielsen. The rip cut is the one I did on, I think, 2 videos ago. It's 11 points per inch. I think it's a 14-inch long blade. And this is a 13 point per inch cross cut. Anyway, so I'm going to take my cross cut saw, put it right in there where I want it, and I'm going to saw down to my mark, the 2 marks that I made on the 3 sides of my tenon. So I'm just cutting my cheeks first. Kind of weird. I'm not in the light that I'm used to, just to give you guys somewhat of a better view. I'm kind of handicapped, but it's still working just fine. Now obviously you're going to cut where you made your bevel on the waist side. Just don't, what you want to do is make sure you don't cut past your line. If you do, you're only hurting yourself. You're making your tenon weaker as the further in you go. So just pay attention. I'm getting close now. And I like to clean it up as I get closer. So I'm on the line over here, but not on the back side. So still not there. Making sure I don't cut any on the back. And perfect, I'm down to the line. Now I cut these so that when I chop or cut, it's going to end on that shoulder line right there. I haven't been doing this all my life, so I don't know exactly where my saw sits, so I just checked. Good and good. Now, I've been kind of going back and forth. I've cut a lot of tenons, but I kind of alternate between chopping and cutting. I think my method of choice is chopping with using a chisel, just because it's, especially if the grain is real straight. If there's a knot or the grain is really irregular, then I might choose to cut over chop. But if it's good straight grain, I'm usually going to lean towards splitting with the there's a little knot here and here and here, but nothing major. But if it's pretty clean, I'm going to lean towards chopping it out with a chisel. I'm going to do both here, just kind of show you. It takes a long time, really, longer than you would think, anyway. I don't know. These saws really aren't. I haven't sharpened them, but I haven't used them that much, so they don't really need to get sharpened. And they're not dull or anything. They're just new. I could probably put my own edge on it and it'd be better than it came from the factory, but for now I'm just going to leave it alone until it starts getting so unsatisfactory that it just drives me nuts. So I'm going to actually stop the video right here and make upload and your download a little faster, and then I'll shoot the second half of this where I chop and cut, either one on each side. See you in a few.